It's been an exciting event, and we thank you for joining us for this session. This is the session on 3G for the global enterprise, focusing on the hurdles, the challenges of deploying 3G in an enterprise environment. My name is Monte Giles. I'm a business development manager for Qualcomm, focusing on the Gobi modem. And have with me today, we wanted to do something different from last year, bring some partners that are leveraging the Gobi API on the software side. So I have with me Fred Vicola from Trelia, and also Bill Hunka from Absolute Software. Okay. Now, this topic, it's exciting to think about how technology is changing quicker and faster when you look at connectivity. It seems just a decade ago that the internet, when it first came out, it was a static type of a world where you get connected, and then it evolved into a more dynamic, and now we're into the world of a mobile internet. Just recently I was traveling with my family. I live in San Diego, but I was in New Mexico, and we were up in the Four Corners area, traveling through a remote area of the Navajo Indian Reservation, and my daughter, who's 11 years old, she says, "Hey Daddy, can I check my Gmail?" Right? So I'm sitting there thinking, okay, great, yeah. So I toss her my laptop, it's a Gobi laptop. She connects, fires up, checks her Gmail in the middle of a remote area in the Navajo Indian Reservation of northern New Mexico. Now, for that generation of kids being born into the mobile internet, it's second nature. When they fire up their laptop, they just want it to be connected. And as we talk through some of these trends around 3G in the enterprise, we want to talk about how in your environment you can leverage this new concept of the mobile internet that you take with you instead of going out and trying to find. So we're going to talk about three things: trends, we're going to talk about some challenges with deployments in the 3G in an enterprise environment, and then we'll talk about some solutions. The three trends that we'd like to discuss in regards to 3G deployments are, first, the data plans. If you look at data plans historically, it's been the traditional $60 a month, 5 gig cap per month. That's beginning to change. These are quotes, public quotes from the carriers talking about ideas such as removing contracts completely, Virgin Mobile. Other ideas, which Verizon has led the charge, is the concept of a day pass, like a Wi-Fi hotspot model. Why can't I connect to Verizon's network for, say, 24-hour period at a specific charge, one-time fee? And then AT&T also has talked about some of the plans that they're changing. So we'll talk about those trends. We'll talk about also 3G as a technology of choice, and also the concept of modems moving inside the laptop. So these are some of the quotes that I was referencing. So Virgin Mobile came out and they talked about this idea of, well, forget the long-term contracts. Why can't we get it now and not have to worry about a 2-year contract? Verizon's Day Pass, and AT&T came out and said the reality is we need a whole plethora of pricing models, from sessions, pooled data, etc. Now, what does this mean for the enterprise? If you watch this closely, and at the end of the day, right, it's up to you as the enterprise to ask for these new pricing models, it gives you a more balanced approach. So when you're assessing how do I deploy 3G in my environment, whether it's air cards, whether it's embedded in a laptop, it's your smartphones, etc., you can now look at it in the sense of those road warriors that need to be connected all the time, field service technicians, knowledge-based workers, executives. You can justify a $60, $50 a month type of a data plan. What do you do with the rest of the employees that may need to be connected occasionally? It gets interesting as you have a more balanced approach, because you can start to explore concepts of session-based pricing, maybe a pooled data plan that you share across users. And now with a modem in every laptop, if you standardize on a modem in every laptop, it gives you the most flexibility as you plan your deployment. The second trend I wanted to talk about is 3G becoming the choice for mobility projects. Now, historically, 10 years ago, if you look at this, this is showing just a chart of wireless options mapped across 3 key variables. So you have coverage, data rate, and then cost. So a decade ago, really, there was no 3G connectivity. Your only choice, untethered from, say, the Ethernet cable, was to go find a Wi-Fi hotspot. And the data rates have continued to increase for Wi-Fi. As 3G is rolled out, we now have 3G networks across the country, across the globe. Now, all of a sudden, you're getting not the rates of, say, an edge GPRS network at less than 100 kilobits per second, but now you're at data rates where you're approaching anywhere from 1 to 5 megabits per second, depending on where you are in the world. As you start to look at this concept of coverage versus data rates versus cost, you can then become and start to assess, well, what do I do? Which technology do I choose? And if it's coverage that you're after, 3G is the only technology that provides true global coverage across the world. We'll show you laptops in the back there from HP, Dell, Lenovo that have the Gobi modem that have been certified and are selling in over 160 countries around the globe. These are both EVDO networks, also HSPA networks. You can see over 550 commercial networks. It's real, it's available today. Within that concept, the question always comes up, okay, well 3G is great, but what about these new technologies? This is historical data, what Qualcomm has, and also looking forward thinking as to what will happen over the next 10 years with 3G deployments and, quote, 4G deployments. This shows that 3G will continue to provide data connections into the next decade. You can see the purple showing HSPA, the orange showing EVDL, and then over time you'll gradually see 4G networks with the LTE and just a snippet there of WiMAX. So if you're making investments today for your field knowledge-based workers, 3G will give you the legroom you need for this PC refresh. And the last trend I wanted to mention is built-in versus external. Every wireless technology has started as an outside-the-box, after-the-market type of an offering. It's no different for 3G. But the trend that's happening because of technologies like Gobi that provides a single modem that works across networks, there's now forecasting out where you see that embedded is starting to overcome the external modem market. The blue is the internal. Why is that happening? Well, first, you don't need to carry these external adapters. I have 3 here from Sprint, from Verizon. Okay, there's a slew of external air cards that you have to take with you. The other thing to look at, if you lose any of those air cards, they get stolen. It may be free the first time, but you have to replace it anytime after that. The other thing, looking at the out-of-the-box experience, if you actually take an integrated model and you think about having a single software image that works within the image on the platform itself, now you can reduce the support costs, etc. The other thing is just simple performance. If you look at the integrated compared to external, now you have antennas that are integrated in the lid of the laptop. This improves performance anywhere from 30 to 40%. And if you think about the RF characteristics, it makes sense because that motherboard is a very, very noisy environment. By getting that sufficient isolation from the motherboard, you're increasing the performance of the laptop itself. So for that reason, we see it's a trend you should watch very closely as more and more laptops will offer built-in. You can see from June 2007 to today, in 2009, that it's more than doubled the number of SKUs, laptop models available in the market today. So let's talk about some of the challenges. 3G is great, connectivity is great. I think we're all convinced of the value it brings. But from an IT perspective, it's difficult in deploying these technologies. In fact, I mentioned already these different air cards that you have to juggle. You probably have different models in your environment. How many of you are a multi-vendor environment? Okay, so you may have a ruggedized laptop from Panasonic for your field service technicians. We have some Lenovo's. We have a T400. We have a Dell E6400, and we also have some HP 6930 as well. So you may have a whole slew of these different models from different OEMs. How do you then manage multiple air cards with multiple drivers with different carriers for each air card, multiple laptops with multiple drivers with different software images for each OEM's laptop? It becomes very cumbersome from a support standpoint to be able to streamline that deployment and simultaneously avoid increasing support costs.